Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to Right to Adversity podcast. I'm your host, Kweku Jempi. This is the business news segment. In the very first episode I recorded, I mentioned that at some point I will be doing business news breakdown. I love business news so much, and I hope that my excitement will diffuse into you. So this is the segment for 4th May 2026. Let's look at the news items for today. It took me about 5 cumulative hours to record this. Podcasting is no joke. I thought it would be something I can smoothly glide through, but it's absolutely not what I thought. So to the news items, there are 6 news items. I'll mention them and we do a breakdown of each of them. Some of them on their face, they don't seem interesting, but when we unravel the onion, you see some very interesting concepts, companies behind things. I find it interesting. I know you will too. So 1, according to the BOG, 9.57 billion gold sales shielded the economy. 2, oil prices rise above $120 after Iran blockade. 3, Ghana IMF begins set review program of ECF, that's Extended Credit Facility. 4, World Bank cocoa forecast, cocoa prices to drop by 50%. 5, Western Regional House of Chiefs visits Car Power Ship, Ghana, comments impact on energy and community. 6, Kasaprekon reports 73 million Ghana cedis profits for first quarter. So now we move through the items one by one. So the first is, according to the Bank of Ghana, 9.57 billion gold sales shielded the economy. Most of the news items I'm detailing, listing out, I got them from City Newsroom and My Job Online. They do a very good breakdown of financial news. Their articles are pretty in-depth. I like them. I tend to go there as my source for news. News item 1. According to Bank of Ghana, 9.57 billion Ghana cedis gold sales shielded the economy from deeper strain, which is financial strain. Some fun facts. In 2025, Ghana was the top producer of gold in Africa. On the world level, we were number 6. In 2025 too, gold saw a record price increase. Between 2024 and 2025, the gold price on the world market increased by 68%. Ghana produced a lot of gold, so it was a good year for us. But then the question is, why will gold sales shield our economy from deeper financial strain? The reason is very simple. The government implemented a program called the Domestic Gold Purchase Program. And as part of the Domestic Purchase Program was Gold Board. And what Gold Board is to do is to buy gold from small scale miners. So it was acting like Cocoa Board in some sense. So Cocoa Board buys cocoa from Ghanaian farmers. Gold Board buys gold from small scale miners. And Domestic Gold Purchase Program, the whole goal was to buy gold from Ghana and then sell outside. So the government gets forex or gets dollars from the gold sales, brings it to Ghana to solve the dollar needs of Ghanaians. And because of that, there wasn't a lot of pressure on the Ghana cedi. So for a long while, I was asking myself, why is the dollar doing badly? Or why is the cedi appreciating to the dollar? And there were people giving several reasons. None of them seemed scientific until I saw some of these articles. The one person who has talked a lot about this is Bryce Simmons. I go through his X feed sometimes, and he explains these matters very well. I would advise that you also check out his feed on X. So that's the reason why the Bank of Ghana is saying gold sales shield our economy from deeper financial strain. Because if there wasn't a record year for gold, we wouldn't have made so much money from gold. In the sense that we wouldn't have acquired a lot of dollars. That would have a lot of dollars to shield our domestic needs, to cover our domestic needs. News item 2. Oil price rises above $120 after a report of extended Iran blockade. This exercise is helping me learn a lot. As I was going through the article, I saw Brent crude. So the $120 that is mentioned here is Brent crude. Now I learned that about 2/3 of crude oil that is consumed in the world is Brent crude, and there are several crude oil benchmarks. So the Brent crude is a particular kind of oil. Think of it as a flavor. So let me describe how Brent crude is. So they say it's light and sweet. Sweet oil. Can you imagine? So sweet means that it contains little sulfur content. And this makes it good because sulfur is seen as an oil contaminant in the sense that it is not good for the environment. Sulfur in oil can lead to acid rain. So sulfur is not a good thing. So Brent crude is a very good flavor of oil which is used throughout the world. There are other oil benchmarks. So I also found there's Texas Intermediate, there's Dubai Oman crude, Urals crude, Bonny Light, Western Canadian Select, OPEC reference baskets, Merban, Isthmus. These are all interesting things we are learning. If it wasn't for this exercise I'm doing, I didn't know about all these things, about oil benchmarks. Had no idea. Yeah, but then the main information that is in this article, I saw the article on City Newsroom, but I don't think they actually picked it from BBC, because I saw the same article on BBC. So what is happening is that because of the uncertainty in relation to the Iran-American war, because of the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, oil prices has increased. When there was a ceasefire, the price reduced. So I was curious, I checked what the price was before the war. And I saw that the price was between $70 to $72 per barrel before the war. And now oil price per barrel is selling at $120 because of the uncertainty surrounding the war and because of the blockade of the strait. When there was a ceasefire, there was an increase in price, but when there was a ceasefire, it dropped to $90. One interesting info I found that confused me was that the price of fuel in Ghana is reducing. I wasn't getting it. And it was mentioned in one of the articles on City Newsroom that Star Oil and Goil had cut their price. So I was wondering, why would that happen if the price of oil on the world market is increasing? So I called some people I know who work at some oil companies. One of them said that he told me he will get back to me, but till now he hasn't gotten back to me. There's a part of me that feels he didn't have an answer, because it should have been straightforward. I called you, just tell me the reason. He said he'd get back to me. So that's something I've been thinking about. But I think the reason is that during the ceasefire, as I've already mentioned, the price of oil dropped because people felt things would be sorted out. America and the Iranians will come to an understanding. So as their price dropped, it's now that the effect of the price is reaching us in Ghana. So after a while, this second effect, as a result of the uncertainty surrounding the new blockade, will reach us once again, and the price of oil will likely increase. So that's it on the oil price going to $120. So we move to the third news item, which is that IMF begin set review program for ECF, the extended credit facility. So I was wondering, what is extended credit facility in the first place? So I went online and I checked what it meant. It transferred me to the IMF website, and it says extended credit facility provides medium-term financial assistance to low-income countries with protracted balance of payment problems. So I asked myself, what is balance of payment problems? This whole business segment is also an education for me. I had an idea of what balance of payment means, but I wanted to get clarity on exactly what it meant. So it says, I checked online once again, it says, balance of payment is a comprehensive, systematic record of all economic transactions between the residents of a country and the rest of the world over a specific period, typically a quarter or a year. But to make things simple, I think the reason why IMF injected money into our economy is because we needed Forex. So they were helping us with Forex. And as I read the article, the facility is to give us $3 billion, and it will be given in several tranches across 36 months. So the review is coming to an end. The state review is the last review. I've downloaded a country report from IMF on Ghana. I'll go through it to understand the policy surrounding the facility. What were the expectations of IMF? What did they want to see? As I was reading the article, I also learned that they extended the end of the facility to August. It was supposed to end in May, but then they extended to August to make sure that the government makes all the changes that it has to make. So this is interesting. I find it interesting. I don't know about you. So to the fourth news item, World Bank cocoa forecast. So according to the World Bank, cocoa prices will drop by 50% in 2026. 2025, cocoa sold at a very good price, was selling at $7.8 per kilogram. In 2026, that's this year, it's expected to be selling averagely at $3.8 per kilogram. So a lot of farmers are worried. According to the news article, I don't know any cocoa farmer personally. So a lot of farmers are worried. As I was reading this news article, I found another one that was actually written by the managing director for the cocoa marketing company. His name is Dr. Wisdom Kofidobe. So he was explaining that there's no need for fear, because as at this time of the year, the price has already reduced significantly. It has already reduced by 44%. So there's a need for calm. So the worst that farmers may fear is already behind us. So there's a need for calm. He also mentioned that aside the World Bank, there are other financial institutions that have different predictions as to the price of cocoa. He mentioned some such as Citigroup, JP Morgan Global Research. There's one called Rabobank. I hope I mentioned it right. Yeah, Rabobank. So several financial institutions have made predictions as to what will be the price of cocoa for this year. So the prediction by the World Bank is not cast in stone. They can change. He also mentioned that the World Bank itself says there's a 61% of, there's this phenomenon called El Nino condition. So I think what as I was reading the article, for the El Nino condition, what happens is that there are some rains that have to fall at a particular time in the year, but when there's the El Nino condition, the rain don't fall and there isn't as much yield. So we won't have as much production as we would expect, or as much harvest of cocoa as we expect. And if there's little supply, same demand, price will likely go up. So he made that intervention to emphasize that there is no need for farmers to be scared. News item number 5. Western Regional House of Chiefs visits Car Powership Ghana. Comments impact on energy and community. I found this article on my Joy Online. But for this one, I wouldn't talk much about the event itself. I'll talk around the events. I'll talk about Car Power, but I have some interest in them. And the Ghana energy sector. When I saw this news item, my interest was piqued to understand the Ghana energy sector better. Who are the players? How much power do you produce? Why do we sometimes have power outages? What's the reason? So on Car Power, at the time they came to Ghana, the floating plants, the ship that they built for Ghana was the highest producing floating power plants in the world at the time. And that is the job they do. They make power plants for several countries. They are currently in about 20 countries across the world. In Ghana, they produce between 12 to 26% of our energy needs. They usually produce 450 megawatts of energy for us as a country. So this is the breakdown of our energy generation sources. So thermal energy is responsible for about 60 to 66% of our energy generation. Hydro power, 34 to 38%. So this is how the Ghana energy sector is partitioned. So there's the generation, so there's power generation, there's power transmission, and there's distribution. Power generation, as I already mentioned, the main power sources, that's thermal and hydro. So hydro, we have Bui, and then we also have Akosombo. So Akosombo is managed by Volta River Authority, Bui by Bui Power Authority. And those are the authorities responsible for the hydro power generation. The thermal power generation is from the IPPs. That's the independent power producers. Car Power is an independent power producer. I found a list online that has a breakdown of the power generation per power plant, per dam. It's an interesting statistic. You see the breakdown, you see the various independent power producers and how much they contribute to our power generation. So that's on the power generation side. When it comes to transmission, the company responsible for it is Gridco. That's Ghana Grid Company. And then there's distribution. Distribution is managed by ECG. That's Electricity Company of Ghana. And I didn't know this. In fact, I had heard the name in passing, NEDCO, but I didn't know what they're about. So there's also NEDCO. That's Northern Electricity Distribution Company. So they are responsible for distributing electricity to the Savannah regions to the north, and electricity is to the south. And interestingly, there's another company that's responsible for power distribution. Its name is Enclave Power Company. I had never heard about it. If I hadn't read this article and then gone ahead to read some other online resources, in fact, this I got from a US site called trade.gov. So they do a breakdown of the Ghanaian economy sector by sector. I think the goal is to help American companies who are coming to Ghana to understand the sector that they are interested in it better. So Enclave Power Company. So Enclave Power Company manages power distribution to two places. That's the Tamafri Zones Enclave and then the Dawa Industrial Zone. I had never heard of Dawa Industrial Zone. So I did a search on it and I got to understand that the same company that runs the Tamafri Zones Enclave also runs the Dawa Industrial Zone. I went to their website and they listed some of the companies that had visited the industrial zone. One I remember now was Van Heusen. So they've got a lot of companies visiting the industrial zone wanting to set up there. So that's something I didn't know before. Enclave Power Company, a distribution company, a power distribution company. So that's on the electricity front. The last news item is Kasapreko reports 73 million profit for Q1 2026. That's quarter one. So quarter one is from January to March. So according to this article, which I found on my journal online, says Kasapreko saw a 55% increase in profit for the first quarter, and it was driven by a reduction in borrowing costs and slight increase in revenue. So what I believe has happened here is that they were paying interest on loans, and when you pay interest on loans, it reduces your profit. They are currently not doing that. I think they've paid off their loan. So that automatically increases their profits that can be seen. And there was a slight increase in their revenues too. So as I looked at the article, their revenue increased in the same period last year. Their revenue was 821.9 million Ghana cedis. This year, it's increased marginally to 853.2 million Ghana cedis. And their profits climbed, as I've already mentioned, to 73 million Ghana cedis from 47.2 million Ghana cedis in the same period last year. When you go to my journal and you see a very good breakdown of several stats. But one thing I found interesting as I was reading the article was that Kasapreko taxes its factories at different rates. So I learned that its Thanos Kumasi factories taxed at 12.5%. Spintex Accra factories taxed at 25%. And export sales are taxed at 8%. So I was asking myself, why? Why would some factories be taxed at 12.5%, others at 25%? Then, as I searched further, I realized that the Thanos Kumasi factory, they are operating it under 1D1F, which is one district, one factory. And under that program, we are giving some tax incentives. And that actual factory was a factory of a company by name Old Paramount Distilleries. And they used to produce a gin called Total Pack. It was this small gin in a rubber pack. I had an auntie who was an alcoholic. It's sad. She literally died from alcoholism. And she used to drink that a lot. Anytime she was going to eat, she made sure she took some of that drink. So when I saw that Old Paramount produced Total Pack, I had some familiarity with that company, and that company has since collapsed. So Kasapreko took over the factory of Old Paramount Distilleries, and that factory is now under the umbrella of 1D1F, and that's the reason why Kasapreko is paying 12.5% tax on that factory. And for export, the government gives an incentive for it because it wants Ghanaian companies to export. So that's the reason why they are paying 8% on their export. Kasapreko is an interesting company. It's been in existence for a very long time. I'm curious about the owner. I checked online and I saw that Willie Meyer has interviewed him. So I'll go check the interview, and in the future, I will do a profile him in the company. So these are the news items for today. Hope to see you tomorrow. Cheers.